What is going on, everyone? It is RevGenius Marketing Mondays. We are back. I am your new host. For those that do not know me, I am Nick Bennett, the Senior Director of ELG, Event-Led Growth and Evangelism at AirMeet. And today I have a special guest. We actually just spent an entire half week together last week. We'll get into that. But I have Amelia Taylor. Amelia, I'll let you introduce yourself in a second. But before we get into that, we're going to be covering WTF is dark social and how can your brand actually use it. So, Amelia, thank you so much for joining me. I will let you introduce yourself. Give us some fun facts about Amelia. Talk about, our experience together. I know it was
Oh,
amazing. Yeah.
it was amazing. It was, Nick. It was amazing because of you. Yes. So I am Amelia Taylor. I am leading evangelism over at Reggie.ai. And I have asked this guy over here more times than not, WTF am I doing when it comes to what my role is? Because, Nick, you are the leader in evangelism. You are leading so many people to figuring out, okay, what WTF? I'm not going to say it. I keep almost, cussing. I don't know if I can on this, but I won't. WTF is, dark social with this exact topic. So seeing what you were doing and a few other people were doing, I was like, I think I'm already doing that. Is this what I'm doing? So started off in sales, realized that I was doing a little bit more of like the strategic yet rogue approach with sales, where it wasn't smile dial, go, go, go. And it was more dark social, which we'll get into. And then it was, I kind of jumped over to the dark side, if you will, over time. RevOps for a quick stint to understand the lay of the land of how an org works. Now I'm over in marketing, and I have such an appreciation for really good marketing now. So
It's amazing. And so, why don't we tell a little bit, before we get into a few things and just, a little housekeeping items. So we're going to cover really three things today. So what dark social actually means, because I feel like it's such a buzzword, kind of like ABM was 5 years ago, except now it's like dark social and all of that. So we're going to talk about what that actually means. We're going to talk about how B2B brands can leverage this strategy for massive growth. I've seen it firsthand. Amelia's seen it. There's others that have seen that. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And then we'll also dive into what organizations get wrong about dark social and how to actually do it right. So before we do that, Amelia, why don't we talk a little bit about our experience in Arizona together? It was a lot colder than I thought,
it was
but
miserable,
in
cold,
per- in-person
blizzard.
events are back, and it was beautiful because I got to see so many LinkedIn friends in real life, which was
I know.
amazing. And I feel like so many people think about dark social as like a virtual thing, stuff that happens in communities like RevGenius. And it's like, hey, I'm using this brand to do this, or I'm using this brand to do this. But I feel like in person, it actually amplifies that. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about your experience at B2BMX, which is where we both were last week, and kind of, let me know your thoughts and let me know, hey, did you learn something? Do you feel like in person actually does amplify dark social? And then we can get into what it actually means.
Yeah, no, I love starting off that way because it was where I had to do a little convincing internally that we should be going to B2B marketing exchange because our ICP is more so sales leaders. But there's a lot of people who come to me because my role being in evangelism is a little bit outside of the lines. It's coming outside the lines a bit. So people don't really know where that lies. So they're like, hey, I'm a marketing leader, but I'm trying to figure out how to use what your solution is for the problem that I have. So I'm thinking, all right, we need to go where our buyers are at to begin with, but we don't have to go to the event. Let's actually just go to network. So that was the actual purpose of going, which thankfully I was able to have a badge of someone's that was not my name. Didn't know how to pronounce it. Thank you, Nick, for letting me listen to your wonderful session. So um, at the exchange, which was awesome. But, you know, it was where I was able to be with the people, you, Arthur, then, people who I'm like, all right, we've chatted a lot. We've gotten to know each other on, as friends, is just what are you doing? What's your strategy? How does this work? Is this right? Is this, bouncing ideas off each other? But then being in person together, you realize like, okay, I can actually like one, these people are human. Two, nobody's better than anybody. Two, okay, there's a lot to be heard and learned just from seeing others doing it in person. Say content, for instance, Arthur just doing it right then and there. But hey, you want to shoot content? Great, awesome. Then there was kind of a little, tribe that we sort of formed of our little group that we hung out with, and it's um I've got a competitor in the car with me too, but it's also like really cool because we're both learning from each other and have been friends before when we're going to this Endoso event, so there's things that people don't realize how important in person really, really is and the impact of actually looking somebody in the eyes, being right there with them, and just asking questions. I mean, Nick, we sat at lunch and had someone literally pitch you their company because Arthur and I, well, more Amelia, decided, why don't you do a live demo, like kind of thing? Let's hear it, verbally give us your demo. And the guy killed it, right? And so it was like, okay, I would have never, one, known who you were. I don't know, maybe I would have at some point, but two, I wouldn't have had that experience and heard your reactions, your questions being asked. And it all was just in real time and seeing that experience. I mean, so many takeaways, and it was cold.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely. No, you bring up a good point too. And like, if you do have questions, drop them in the chat. We're happy to dive into anything as well. But I mean, for me, it was much more of having those relationships that you build. And for me, like everything goes back to like a people first go to market. And I think dark social
yes,
plays into this whole thing. It's like so many companies think like, all right, I'm going to put the brand first. I'm going to put the company first. But how often do you see a brand that you're like, oh man, I love that brand and I engage from a B2B perspective, I should say, not B2C, from a B2B perspective and say like, wow, I love engaging with their content. And like, it's like I can feel who they are. But
totally.
you get the people behind the brand, and I think that's where like that people first strategy comes in, and ultimately they're like, wow, like these people are awesome. Now I not only recognize the brand, I remember the brand, and in the future, whenever I have an opportunity, I want to work with the brand. So I agree. It was a really great conference. I feel like I was able to form a lot of really great no relationships, or I guess expand on relationships, but also from an AirMeet perspective, I was able to talk to some customers. I was able to talk to some prospects as well. I was able to get introduced again, this whole dark social
Yes,
thing. Like I was introduced to just randomly 10 people that were like, oh hey, like we could use something like this. Like I wouldn't have
yeah,
done that if I didn't have the relationships with everyone else. So
100.
let's
People
dive
first,
into it.
always.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, if it's not
100%.
the people
Yeah.
first approach and you're planting those seeds, which we already did, right? There's the seeds that we planted with the people that we knew and expanded on it. We watered them well. So, and it was like fruition came because of watering those seeds. It was very much so. I mean, it was literally people first. Like we just saw it right there. It was really cool.
Love it. Absolutely. So, all right, let's dive into the first kind of topic here.
Yep.
And so the whole thing is, what dark social actually means. Because again, like I mentioned earlier, so many people think of it as a buzzword. Some people say, oh, it's just another form of word of mouth. In your eyes, what does it actually mean? I'll jump in after that.
Okay, let's first clarify for anyone listening, it is not the dark web, y'all. Okay, I get this question from I more so like about 2 years ago. I would get that question. Okay, what's dark social? What WTF is dark social? Literally, this topic. Like, is that like the dark web or something? I'm like, absolutely not. Please don't go jump on anything there. Don't make me the person telling you to go do this. No, it's meeting your buyers where they're at. And if it's communities or if it's through a WhatsApp group or it's through texting, it's anything that's the unorthodox way of reaching the people that you know that you can help and forming those relationships, networking well. Um, Not everything, I like to say I color outside the lines a bit. I do things a little bit with a a strategic yet rogue mindset because I had my background a bit is, single mom of two, and I had to figure out how to make things work. And so, not knowing what I didn't know, I thought, all right, you got to test and try and figure out how to actually go find the people that I need to go talk to and I need to get answers from. I need to learn from. I want to learn from. And it was amazing to see the people who poured back into me when I simply just asked them, like you too, can you help? Can you help me figure this out? And so seeing all that just kind of come back to life was, last week was great, but it's the dark social. It was right there too. It can be in events too, I think, in some form, because it is. I didn't go for the conference per se, even though it was a great conference, because I still was at the hotel being able to network, which I would say is a lot of dark social, right? It is being where my buyers were at, but not necessarily selling. Wasn't trying to sell to them. I was being a walking, talking bridge to a solution, if that made sense.
Yeah, no, I love that because it's like so often people think of it as like a salesy thing, but like I'm not out here, pitching the product. I'm here to
Right.
again build relationships because what's going to happen is when you meet your buyers where they are, whether it's in communities, whether it's in person events, whether it's virtual events, whether it's a Reddit forum or something like that, what you're going to do is you're going to build these relationships with potential buyers and they're going to be like, "Hey, this guy Nick is actually pretty cool. Like, what does he actually do?" And honestly, it's the reason why I post so much on LinkedIn because if you look at my content, I don't come across as salesy. Like, do I tag Airmeet occasionally? Yeah, absolutely. But like, if you look at my content, 98% of the time, I'm not trying to pitch a webinar or anything like that. It's more of just like value first information. And for me, people are like, well, how does Air Meet, and I was previously at Alice, like, how do they, benefit from this as a brand? And it's all about, the people that ultimately you build relationships with. They're going to click your profile on LinkedIn. So make sure you have an optimized profile.
Yep.
And they're going to say, oh, what does this person actually do? And they're going to read the headline. And it says exactly what I do in my headline. And I'm like, all right, cool. They're going to scroll down a little further. They're going to check out your work history, and they're
Yep.
going to be like, "All right, cool. What does this company AirMeet do?" They're going to click into it. They end up on the website. They start checking out some things. Maybe they're checking out my podcast. All of a sudden, it starts to create this buyer's
And how
journey
did
of
it
like
happen? You
exactly all
first.
these touch
You
points.
first.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
But it's not I'm not trying to be salesy at the end of the day. I'm just trying to build relationships, trying to add value, and when someone has a need for the solution that I'm trying to provide, they'll come
Yep.
find me. I mean, they know where to find
Because
me.
they think of
So
you, right? Like, they'll think, "Oh, I know this person." I mean, if you want really great referrals, you have to network really well. But you have to do it with good intentions of not trying to sell, but simply to help. Because that's where I think the most value is going to happen and the biggest revenue that you're going to see, the ROI is going to be immense based off of it's a long game. If you want
mm,
to do dark social, it is a long game. Sure, you might get quick wins because it's a quick referral. Hey, this guy, I know I'm trust him. Because more now than ever, we know people are buying from people. They're buying from their peers. They're talking to their peers. They are going to the people that they know and trust already. So why not be that person that they know and trust with that solution right there for them? And maybe now on the marketing side, it's where KPIs are different. Marketing lingo is different. Let me just toss something out there. That one's tricky. We activate all things, but it's the coming from sales and go, 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 go to let's slow down and actually have a strategy and an approach that makes sense. I mean, one of my big focuses is advisor led kind of marketing to where we are meeting our buyers with whatever their goals are and or advisor, wherever they're at, 2023 goals, initiatives, all that, then how do we fit in there better? How can we collaborate together? Because they've got a wide range of people that they've networked well with. So, how do I tap into your network and network well with your people? And it's, different ways to go about doing things that aren't hard. It's just putting people first and showing up in the places. But it is trial and error. like you've got to be, you might go somewhere where you think people are going to be at, and you're like, okay, this is like a, you mentioned earlier, like a Reddit thread. Okay, y'all are talking about nothing that makes sense in what I do, and I'm ingrained in this, and this make what am I doing? So you have to go and figure out where your people are at. Then you're starting to learn. Then go start and join other places where you don't have the understanding of where people are starting to talk about things. And you're behind the scenes. Lurk too. If you're not lurking, you're not learning. So lurking, I think, is such a big portion of figuring out this whole dark social thing too, immersing yourself into it, but also lurking a bit in other places as well, if that makes sense. Like there's
Mm.
places where you can go and you can just, hey, what am I doing here? Help me out. Go to those people, know people you can trust and ask that to, but also go to the places where you don't know what's going on. And that's where the conversations are happening that are like a step above the people who are doing things a little bit like, oh, they're trying to figure this out, this out, this out. So you're right where your buyers are at, what they're talking about, or ahead of them, that, oh, I'm first to help because I'm right where you are. And I've got the knowledge to be able to talk about what you're speaking to, about with whoever it may be, and jump in the conversation. Just jump into it.
Yeah, you have to be okay with, like, talking to other people. I mean, for me, like, that was my whole thing, like, there was so many times where, like, I wanted to be a creator, and I mean, I feel like I've been doing it for 3 years now, but, like, when I think of evangelism and I think how that ties into dark social, like, I think of people like Sangram and Randy from Uberflip and like, all these people, Ethan from Bomb Bomb. Like, there's these people,
Yep.
and I mean, you could throw Chris Walker in there from Refine Labs, but like, they're
That's
executives. Like,
right.
they should be doing this to a certain degree. But what about that next layer down? And I feel like, yeah, executives has relationships with executives to a certain degree, but like we have relationships with like buyers and like
Right.
the people that can sign contracts as well.
The pen in
Um,
hand, right. Yeah, those people.
yeah, exactly. So I think it's much more like trying to figure out, meeting your buyers where they are, figuring out how you can actually like get into those conversations and like don't be afraid to ask for help or ask for something.
Yes.
Like no one knows it all and we're all just trying to figure out life as we go. But
Mhm.
you'd be surprised at just sparking up a conversation. I was on the flight home from B2BMX and I sat down next to this guy, super cool. And he was telling me he was a business owner, and he was doing something and he was out in Arizona. He wasn't at the conference, but he was doing something else. And he was asking me what I did. And we talked for like 2 hours. It was a three and a half
Dang,
hour
better
flight
than
home. We
me.
talked for 2 hours. And at the end of the flight, he's like, cool. Like I gave him one, we were talking about like what I do. And then he was asking about some recommendations about some other things. And he was in the B2B world. But I gave him a bunch of companies that I was like, "Hey, you should go check out these companies because I think they're
Mhm.
doing really cool stuff." And
Yep.
I gave him my phone number, random dude on the plane, and we literally talked and like he was just like, "Thank you so much. Like this is super helpful." He's like, "Listen, like I'm gonna go reach out to these companies." He's just like, he was saying word of mouth is such a big fuel in what
Oh,
he
it
does.
is.
And
Yes.
I am curious on your thoughts on like how would you differentiate like dark social and word of mouth?
Oh, good question. Word of mouth is just conversational. I think that's very much so where you're it's conversational in the sense of you already know this person well enough for it to be, hey, you should check out this company. I think this will be beneficial for you guys. That's more of the referral kind of based thing of here, check them out. Like, I think you guys could benefit here. I don't know, worth the look. And then you see that inbound lead come through, and it's like, how'd you hear about us? Hopefully you guys have that form, that open text field, and it's where, oh, Amelia Taylor, Nick Bennett, on a plane, right? Whatever it may be. But then there's the dark social aspect where you're with not sure, can that be a point and with one person where you're having that dark social conversation? Yeah, but there's also the dark social kind of communities and things like that, different threads that you can be a part of where you're just pouring a little bit of knowledge in. You're also you're contributing to what the conversation's already being had and done, wherever that may be. And then you're putting in your insights too. So word of mouth is very much so straight to the point, I would say, and more referral based, then I think dark social goes into that at some point, but you got to immerse yourself into where those dark places are, where your buyers are not really seen talking all the time. They might not be on LinkedIn. Your buyers not, they might be on Instagram. That might be where they are at. So you're going through the DMs right there. I mean, that's how I met Doug Landis, was literally because he had a cool picture of his wine cellar. And I was like, do you need my address to ship me wine? Like, how are we doing this? But now I know more people through GTM Fund because of him. It's like we've just gotten to know each other and he's helped me figure out things. And if I didn't just put myself out there to be a friend first, too, I think that's a big thing is just be yourself. Like just show up as you. And that's what we saw a lot in Arizona too. It was like people are just, we're sitting with Vin Mateo and it's like, oh, I know you, a day in the life guy. Yeah. And, things like that. And it's like, cool. Okay. He does things on a lot of different social platforms, but he's getting people coming to him because he's showing up and as himself completely. He's created his own brand under the company's umbrella. He doesn't have to talk about the company. I didn't know the company he was with, even though it's a large company at first, because I could jump on his LinkedIn and literally see all that. But it's enticing enough, and I wanted to see more about who he was. I'm like, oh, I know this guy. He's the guy from Instagram with the day in the life videos that he has. So it all ties back around, and that's the dark social aspect for you. It's like go out there, be where it's unorthodox, but where your buyers are living. Don't waste your time in places where they're not. If they're not in Reddit threads, leave those alone, y'all. And if they're in WhatsApp groups, go figure out where those are. But don't be afraid to ask people where to go too. If there's other people in the space, hey, where are you finding success? Like, where are you finding people who are asking the most questions? Because if you don't know what people are asking and talking about, you can't talk to what's relevant or important to them right now. People are trying to figure out so many things right now. I mean, this whole chat GPT thing has like disrupted everyone's world and everyone's thinking. I did a post recently about everything so reactive based right now. Everyone's reacting, go, go, go. But if we don't slow down a little bit and think about what our next best step is, it's just going to be completely just, I mean, we're going to just burn ourselves to the ground trying to run so fast. And going and figuring out, all right, let's back up. What's our strategy here? Executives, like you said, sure. There's the handful I can think of that have that brand for the company. But what about the people who have that for the company, but they don't have to talk about the company? They can have that brand. It's a great reflection on the company that I think we're going to see so much more of in the next, especially this year. I mean, it's going to be where we're going to see a lot more wild titles. We don't know what they're going to be yet, but people who are figuring out a people first approach opposed to it being PLG or whatever it may be. It's going to be, if you're sure PLG people led, it's going to be where that's going to be more of the approach is you put people first and you help. That's where you get the ROI in
Mm.
in folds really.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean, you brought up a good point because I want to get like tactical for a little bit to see if we can help some people out. And so, you brought up a good point about like the how did you hear about us forum. So like if you are, in the B2B world, on your demo form, and you could use it on other forums as you want. Like we use it on our demo forum, we use it on our free webinar offer, we use it on a few different places. But the question it says is, how did you hear about us? And it's an open text field that people can write whatever they want, and it's a required question on top of that, so people have to answer that. But as marketers and people that are out, for I guess customer facing, prospect facing, like you're getting so many insights of where your potential buyers are hanging out, because what they could say is, hey, saw you on Marketing Mondays, went to go check out the website, checked out another event, listened to your podcast, and then all of a sudden I was like, wow, I ended up on your pricing page and was like, cool, this is actually something I need. Now, If you don't have that text box and you just basically have a drop down menu, you're basically going to be, marketers are lazy, let's be honest. And they're going to
Salespeople are the
probably,
worst. Admins, though. Let's talk about that. Let's tell y'all are awful. I said, and I'm both. I feel like a liaison of that. So I don't know what that
that's
reflection
true.
is.
No, exactly. Well, and so many times people will click that first thing in the drop down, which is usually
Mhm.
like Google, and it's like, all
Right.
right, cool. Like, people are just clicking that and it's like whatever. But like if you have the entire buyer's journey that you can map out, you can get a lot more insights into that,
Yeah.
especially. So like let's talk about like, like if you had to break it down from like a strategy perspective and like how B2B brands can like leverage this strategy, what would you say is kind of like the starting point, the middle, and I mean there really is no end, but like, I guess the end as you continue to test and iterate.
Mhm. So this is so relevant to what I have literally been doing for the past about 6 months. I mean, it's been where I had to figure out, I had to write my own job description out because I did not know what it was that I was really doing. And so I went and wrote my own job description out and was like, all right, what is it? Thankfully I had the opportunity to be able to do so. That's not where everybody can do that, right? But I went into the company I'm with now for sales. That was the that was the job description. I was going to be doing sales, building this evangelist, role on the side sort of thing, figuring out what that meant because the company was so engineer focused at first. I mean, brilliant, brilliant minds behind the curtain. But where was the, in front of the curtain presence where not just the face of the company, but the person who is just showing up where your buyers are at, right? So where is that even at? So I was challenged by some, Nina Butler, shout out to her because y'all work closely together and you were like, she is a god, she's gonna be great to work with you. Her and I had to figure out we do not have the same brain by any means, which it's a yin and yang now to where we get each other and how we can work together because the operational mindset of things, I learned, okay, you've got that. You've got the systematic, you've got the, analytical thing. I've got the let me go and do and just things into action approach. But can you draw the box for me? Do the 3 bullet points and then I'll fill this out of what I think, but simplify things for me because I'll overthink it all. So we figured out, all right, where are our 6 buckets that we want to focus on this year? What do we really, really, really think this is going to be like beneficial for us? Let's narrow it down to 3. Great. Here's our top 3. Okay, great. Now here's our 2 that we're doing this quarter. Being community-led growth and advisor-led marketing. Those are the big things that we're really trying to focus in on. Um, but if you don't know what you don't know. No one does. So I went to you, Nick, and said, hey, are these things that make sense? And you're like, here's kind of what I did, here's where I started. And so taking it really from you, create these like 6 approaches that you want to really focus on that you think because it's a process of elimination. Everything really is to some degree. You have to try to eliminate, you've got to go and try certain things to eliminate the things that don't work to know what does work. You don't know what works until you try multiple things, which is marketing in a nutshell, right? It really is testing, iterate, fail, you know, try this again. Great. Okay, this is where the market's at. This is where but if you don't know where the industry's at or what the people are talking about, that your buyer, what they're saying, how in the world are you supposed to speak to them in marketing language and give them that one page or give them the materials or having sales talk their language or what is really important to this day? So that's where I show up and say, okay, hey company, I think this is a better role for me. I think I need to go and be out and doing this. And that was not the that was I went in for sales. So to go in and challenge in a good way of saying, hey, this looks like this is missing. And I'm seeing a lot of people have success with having and this dark social approach, being where your buyers are at, being a helping person first and foremost, being a part of those conversations, understanding what they're talking about because I'm learning at the same time and just networking well, planting seeds for y'all. I'm not talking about the company. I'm just being people first. Let me help you. And I did a post about it recently of the show New Amsterdam. The doctor, the GM there, his like famous line is, "How can I help?" And he says it to everyone. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, we don't lead with that as much as we should. How can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And it's if people are talking about a solution that you can provide, you should know how to help first and foremost. So having knowledge of what you do to your buyers, like that is a massive, how can I support you? Yeah. I mean, yeah, Greg, it's how can I show up with the knowledge that I need to have first? Sure, anybody can show up, but if you show up without the knowledge, then what are we doing? You're just, then you look like a salesperson who has zero product knowledge whatsoever. And it's going to be a failed attempt to begin with. You don't want to be the person who shows up and then passes somebody along to the next person, passes somebody along. So it's eliminating a little bit of the sales process of it being, let me go straight from an SDR booking something to the AE having the demo to it being, let's have, the whole sales cycle. Let's do our follow ups. Let's do this. Okay, let's just have this great, already trusted relationship built. And let's hop on a call with the person that makes the most sense within the organization. Great. If it's going to be this big company, hey, let's have CEO to CEO chat. How about let's sync the two of you up, if that makes, let's CMO. Great. And think of it in that strategic approach. So that's where I'm at right now. So I'd say beginning is very much so finding exactly what those top like 6 things are that can be your focus for the year. I don't even know what month we're in, right? So like we're finishing what we're in March. So but great, let's do 4. Focus on 4 key things. Okay, then let's break it down to what are like the 3 that we really love, that we think are really like what we've either done that have worked really well before, or we've never tested the waters, but it's working for other people, either in our space, or we can go and ask them, hey, does this make sense? Do you think this should be an approach? Like, ask people, but even ask people who could be your buyers too. Like, people, their favorite topic is themselves. So you ask someone for their opinion, they'll probably give it to you. And especially if you're where they live and it's so simplified, that line of communication is so easy to be had, then they're going to come straight back to you. Hey, I was thinking about this. Um, what if you did this? And they're just helping freely and openly with willing hands. I would, because you showed up and asked them for help, and they could say, this actually does make a little bit of sense for us. Oh, by the way, I own a PE firm as well, and I've got 60 companies in my portfolio. Wait, what? There's things like that. You don't know what doors are open until you go knock and you figure out what's behind that door.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
there's the first point. There's break it down into top things. Second, then you've got to have the strategy behind it.
Yep.
But don't overthink the strategy is where I've learned by failing of overthinking and thinking I should do so many things. And then it's like, whoa, you can't do everything at once. Slow down and really figure out, how do I approach this person at point, but also let me just go be where they live the most. Like, let me go talk to this person because he's got 2 kids. I've got 2 kids and they're both 2 little ones, like 2 little girls. Great. Let's talk about your kid. Like, let's talk about how crazy our children can be, right? And then let's just form a friendship. And then let's just like get to know each other out of good intention, because that's somebody who I believe, one, I could help. 2, it's they've got a great network too, and they understand what, you know, it doesn't have to be an understanding. I'm taking this back a little bit. Let me back up. It's not an understanding of what I'm doing, because there's not an agenda behind it other than to network well and being a people led, motion first. But they understand the people led motion is what I'm saying. They
Hmm.
understand, great, let's just network, because that's how they got to where they are. And that's why they're in that dark social community or group or wherever with you. So finding where your buyers live, bucketing that, figuring out what your top focuses, and then having a strategy behind it.
That's a good one. Yeah, I agree with all of those. I mean, you bring up a good point about like not trying to do everything, because like I'd prefer not to do anything. Just if anyone's from Air Meets on, like I'm just kidding. So like
He's kind of kidding.
I work hard. I was
It's
in
fine, Mark.
Arizona whining and dining.
Yes.
But we had a few questions come in. So all right. So the first question that came in was, is dark social the same as dark funnel? It's up to, I can take
You
that.
you win with that. I would love to hear what you say first, actually, on
Hmm.
that one.
So they are, well, for most they really should be two separate things. So dark
Uh-huh.
funnel is, in Sixth Sense has kind of coined this, is like the dark funnel is basically everything that happens from an intent perspective that you can't actually see. In strictly from in intent data. So like they say, like, hey, you can see when someone goes fills out your form or registers for your event, but what you can't see is all the back channeling that they're doing on the
Mhm.
backside. Now, I think dark social is very much like kind of like you're asking specific pointed questions. It's not you just kind of like doing a thing. I think they go hand in hand together, but I think they are two separate things. What about you?
I agree, and I mean, picture a funnel. So let's for all the visual people out there, picture a funnel. You can't see inside how it's filtering down, right? But those are the back channel things. So it's going down, but it's coming through to your form or to your page. Eventually, it's going to come out of that funnel. But you're going to think of it, literally visualize like how that's being fed into the funnel through dark social, through those conversations. And it might be the people lurking in the dark social areas with you, and they are jumping in that funnel. Then it's kind of going down that funnel, and it might be they'll randomly ask you a few questions. There might be that at point conversations that happen, but it also just might be that they've seen your name. They know who you are. They hear what you're saying. They trust you from afar because XYZ maybe trust you, or they've just heard you talking about what it is that you can do or the solution. They just trust the brand that you've built too. Even if you're not talking, I'm going to know more about what you do because I trust what you're saying and I really enjoy your content when
Hmm.
it's not even company related. So you might see some of those people funnel through, but I like to think of it literally as like a funnel, like making a cake, and I suck at cooking. But like like I don't even know if you use a funnel with cooking. I don't know in what sense. Let's say making a cake. I don't know if that makes sense either. But um, it's you don't see all of what's coming down. That's the back channel stuff. So how it is the intent data that is being, people that inbound, people are coming inbound, but how are they coming inbound? Because you've got people who are also you got to figure out that intent. Okay, where's the attribution that comes from that? If you don't know where things are being attributed from, how do you know where you should be? So understanding where you've got to that goes back to that open text form right there of that drop down, that open one right there. They can fill in that blank. Nick Bennett on the plane ride back from or to to Boston from Arizona, where we talked for 2 hours. Great, now I know. Or through Nick and Amelia chatting during the RevGenius session, Marketing Mondays. Great. Now I know that I need to come and beg y'all to join me more. Like, Nick, can I come hang out more with y'all? Hey, Jared, can I come chill with y'all more? Because, or just helping within the community more, right? Like showing up where people are asking questions and then being an expert in what I do and saying, hey, I think I can help out here. But if I can't, I'm going to be honest with you and say this is not something I think is the best fit for you. Because
Yeah.
honesty is going to win every freaking time.
100%. Totally agree. All right, so there was another question that came in. So the question is it still dark social if someone says dark social after the dark social action has occurred?
Let's
So
say it
like
again. Say it again. Say it again.
is it still dark social if someone says dark social? Like, I assume that is like the way they heard about you after the
Mhm.
dark social action has occurred. So basically, the way that I interpret it is it still dark social if like someone has already come inbound and like that's the way that they heard about you
Mm.
is through, I don't know, let's just say like RevGenius.
Yep.
Is it still like is that still considered dark social? Because I would personally say yes, because
Yeah.
if you're using self-reported attribution, which is that
Yep.
that open text box, ultimately what's happening is like the dark social activity is occurring. Like there's probably people in like Rev Genius like talking about us right now, and like
Yeah. What are you talking about? What are you
yeah,
saying?
and like it's still. I mean, to me, it's still a legit thing if it
Mhm.
happens like after the action has occurred, because ultimately it's still the dark social that drove that specific
Mhm.
piece of self-reported attribution. So,
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, having to go through this journey as of recent, we went from HubSpot to Salesforce, and there had to be the attribution that what is Amelia doing that's driving, either it's me going and sourcing certain things, or it's me just having leads that are coming in because of their influence, right? So there's the
mm,
source and then there's the influence. So those influence leads, I've got to know where those are coming in from. And if it's from here, awesome. And this will probably be, dropped within the channel later. And if somebody is watching this and they're like, oh, I'm trying to learn about dark social, like WTF is it? Oh, Amelia and Nick were talking about it. Great. Here's this link. Awesome. If they come through and want to learn more about what I could do, like to help them, then I need that open text field so I could do my reporting in Salesforce. For me personally, we have it to where it's just we're a smaller company, Series A, like, but other companies it needs to be a little bit more granular. I think for us, it just is geared towards evangelism because that's me. So we have it our lead source, our meeting source, and then opportunity is going to be that AE. They own that, but still we've got it to where I'm the contact owner. So I'm owning that contact because that's the relationship portion of things. I brought that contact into learning about the solution we provide for. So
mm,
I have
that's
to know who is it that then I can keep up with those people, right? Then I don't like, great, let me touch base with this person. I had someone say something on a comment on some post I did not long ago. Don't remember what it was about, but they made a good point of doing tasks, like putting tasks and within your Salesforce of like right then and there whenever you're in there because salespeople are the worst admins. Marketing is like they're like don't know what they're doing apparently. Post, salespeople think that. As a former salesperson, I thought marketing had no idea what they're doing. Oh my gosh, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, learning marketing, but I'm getting it because there's then I look at sales from a different side. I'm like, why can't we be friends? Like where is it to where we're both doing the same motion in opposite opposite ways to where we're influencing, you're sourcing. And but we need to speak the same language. If marketing is sending out certain things, um, sales needs to be talking that same talk. There
mm,
can't be that the opposite going on. So on my headline on LinkedIn, it has it in sales marketing liaison because that's what I feel like I am. And there's no like, sure, evangelism, great, but what is evangelism? Spreading the good word. That is what the word means. So preacher's kid here too. So like I can really, jump on that one. So, but you're spreading the good word, but also it doesn't have to be solely about like what your solution is. It could just go be a good human and do good things and show up and help people. People first, people first, people first. But
mm.
to answer that question, yes, it is. I agree completely.
Absolutely. Well, I wrote a LinkedIn post about this today. Was I basically shared like our entire like we don't look at MQLs like we look at it from like a
Mhm.
lead perspective, and so we basically take these leads from low intent, medium intent, high intent, and there's certain definitions that fall into each of those. From there, it pushes over to SQL, and then basically opportunity and so
Yep.
on. But the whole thing was like I was in sales before I moved to marketing as well. And like salespeople don't care about MQLs. They care about how you're going to impact their livelihood. Are they
They
going to hit their number? If
don't
not,
want the
they're not
weaponry
going to care
leads,
about you.
right?
Yeah,
Like, don't give me those. Yeah.
exactly.
You really
So it's interesting. So before we wrap things up, I know we only got a little bit longer here. Let's talk about organizations that they get wrong about this, who's doing it right. So like in your mind, like what do organizations today get wrong about dark social, and a flip side to that, who do you think's actually doing it right?
Yeah, I think a lot of organizations, I think it boils down to top of the funnel. There's an ego problem right there of we've always done things this way as well of not and then not knowing what you don't know. So when with technology and approaches and different uh, tactics and different ways to do things, if you're not keeping up with what the trends are, where the market's going, what people are talking about, how to be visible and approachable and knowledgeable about all of these things in that you right now, then you're going to fall behind. And if you don't have competition that's breeding innovation, then you're either left behind or you're way up, somewhere where it's way further than anybody is gone yet. You're doing Elon things. You're not like you're like way up there and thinking in space, or you just literally are so far behind. So like competition breeds innovation. You've got to have it. But if you're not innovating because you think we have always done things this way, you will fall behind. Um, I think that's a big thing is people don't know what they don't know. So there's got to be, and I would challenge people who understand dark social. They understand there's a better way to do things. Is it going to be your best way? I don't know. Until you try, you don't know. So you've got to go. But is the best way going to be people first always? Yes. So going and just being where people are at, talking and learning, helping, that's going to always be your number one selling channel. I honestly, I believe that with all my heart. Everything else, great, but if you're not people first, you're not going to sell. Um, there's there's companies like Chili Piper who do things great, and that's one that does an obvious one, right? Like that's one that does that you can say, there's Arthur, he's very much so Arthur Castillo, like he's the brand of Chili Piper, but he doesn't talk Chili Piper. He might have orange shoes on, but that doesn't mean, that doesn't mean he's always talking Chili Piper. He has, the branded jacket, great. But he's not saying Chili Piper does this, it does this. Is he driving awareness to what they do and not just having this like fun, like, oh, we're just having fun, let's just talk. But he'll loop it back around. The content that he'll create is going to come back. How does this, well, let's see how we can help you with this. It's going to be, if this makes sense, it's going to be, if, well, who else do you think we should talk to? It's always going to be something that's going to go a little bit in the direction of, we're going to be able to help you. If not, great, we can still be friends. And like, it doesn't matter. Like, let's still plant that seed. And so it's the people like Arthur Castillo who are planting seeds in the right way without trying to pitch or sell their product. I would say another company who's doing this well, Air Meat, since they got you. Good job, Mark. They're doing it really great. RevGenius does this great. And this is a community, but they do this very well in the sense of we're going to do our RevGenius magazine, but we're going to have AI content being produced within it because a lot of people are talking about AI, and that's like at the forefront of whatever people are trying to figure out. And they're frantic, how do we incorporate this into our sales motion? It's who's doing it? How do we do it? Let's just run and do it, and everyone does it, and now nothing makes sense. And so understanding, okay, let's all have our roles here. Where do we start with who's going to kind of take over having a different approach? And I would challenge, like I said, I would challenge anybody who does understand dark social, like go and figure out how you can be a little bit of that liaison. Go have conversations with the marketing side. Go have conversations with the sales side. Bring a little group of people together who get it. Have a little like society within whatever you want to call it. But the people who get it are the ones who are going to move the needle within the company. And if you're single-handedly doing it, I challenge you to keep going because you're the ROI, everything that you're going to generate is going to 10x what other people are going to do in due time because you led with that people first approach. You helped first and you understood what you were helping with. You didn't just say, I can help and then passed it along. That's a glorified SDR, in my opinion. That you actually were knowledgeable about your product and showed up where people were talking about things. Oh, I can help you. Great. Let's just have a quick like chat. And then you get to do that in person, right? And then you have the conversations in person if you go to events and stuff, because that's where people are at. And you want to be around other people who are innovative too, trying to learn and grow and figure things out. Because same as competition breeding innovation, okay, be with those who are in the same kind of roles as you trying to figure it out because they're going to breed ideas and innovation for you and things maybe, hey, we're trying this. You should like, okay, great. That's not how I think it would work best for us. So that gives me an idea of how maybe we could do something else. So Communication is key in all aspects of all dark social things. It's communicating with your buyers, it's communicating with other people who are doing certain things in unorthodox ways, and just being human. Show up as being just yourself. And just, I mean, people are going to buy from people they like. So if they like you and you're just being yourself and you're an honest, trustworthy person, you're doing great. I guarantee you're doing better than other people within your org.
I love that. No, that was the great. I mean, I don't even really have anything to add because I feel like you did such a great job there.
Yeah,
Um,
listen, if anybody has anything to add, you're like the one that I would go to for everything. So I'm like, Nick, help me.
yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I just feel like for me, like it's everything goes back to that people first go to market strategy. Like I mean, Mark and I, and even leadership believes in like, listen, like it's, brand is very much like, think of like brand spam. And I made a post about this like a week or two ago, but it was like, you know, think of it like, you're watching your favorite show on like Hulu or something, and all of a sudden, like this same Subaru ad keeps popping up.
Right.
Like, yeah, Subarus are cool and stuff, but like it's going to negatively impact the brand, and brand spam is a real thing. Whereas like when you get to that people first side of it, when we think of people first, it's like, how can you send emails from a real person? How can you write ebooks from a real person, have an author page? How can you respond to reviews on a website with a real person responding
Yep.
to those? How can you embrace creators and work with them, and everything that we're doing around this whole creator studio? Like, we're ultimately creating this competition to focus on creators to say, listen, like these are people first that are going to remember the brand long term when they go off to be superstars. So again, I think the only thing that I would say is focus on a people first go to market. People first go to market embraces dark social, embraces modern day marketing. You don't want to be stuck at one of these companies that are lagging in that, because they're going to be left at the train station and you're going to be in a whole new universe. So I would
You're
embrace
gonna
that.
have that too. If you're stuck, like there's companies that will embrace new ideas. So like more, I mean, I took a chance on myself completely. I 100% left a company where it was not serving me the way that I felt as it should, and I said, "I am going to bet on myself and on my network." Do I give this advice to everyone? No. But did I network well enough to know that I had good people in my corner who I felt as though were gonna help me get to where I really could grow and thrive? Am I there right now? Yeah, and I'm loving what I'm doing. And it's because this person introduced me to this person who introduced me to this person who we already knew each other to some degree. So it was a casual conversation of just people first talking. Okay, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? Well, are y'all doing this? And asking those questions. So if you're stuck at a company who won't embrace where everything is going, this creator led motion where this is your go to market motion is going to be a lot of creators who are going to show up and they're going to be your sellers and marketers. Like they're going to be both sides because they're bringing in that revenue because they are the ones where it's sure it can be sourced, but it's a lot of that. Just how'd you hear about us? Nick Bennett, Nick Bennett, Nick Bennett. Great. Not because you're out there talking air meat all the time. You're not. I'm not talking Reggie all the time. No, we're not. It's and I did a session with internally. We're doing like every other week how to really like optimize like your LinkedIn profile, how to do social well, and let's not do a poll about what's the best AI tool that's out there, right? Like, please don't do that. Like, let's not hashtag our company name. Let's not do any of that because you're under the umbrella already. So build you, like, be you, stand out, being who people just know and trust. And they're, oh, that person's, oh, yeah, she's with that company. Great. Yeah, go talk to her. She knows what she's talking about. Great. So it all comes back around. It's just fruition when you just put people first. So, but find the people that you can trust if you need help with figuring out how to even embrace it. That's where I started. I didn't know, so I had to ask.
100%. No, I love it. I think this was a fantastic conversation. Hopefully, everyone that has been listening in on both, the event itself as well as LinkedIn Live has learned something today. And for anyone that wants to continue that conversation, Amelia, where can they find you? Give people a lowdown.
I mean, obviously, I'm on LinkedIn. Hello, there's all over. Right underneath my name, it has. I've got a link right there. It's quick, like, let's talk shop, let's just chat. It's literally networking. Let's just do that. So, I'm happy to talk to people. But I will say, if you go and put a link like right there, let me just side note this one. Time block. Don't overwhelm yourself with just conversations. Like, you've got to take care of you to take care of like others. So knowing, okay, I've got this time blocked for myself to be able to help others in the sense of, want to streamline your content, great, let's talk about that. Or if you just are trying to learn something, great, let's figure it out. Like, if you want to chat about something like this, great. So streamline your content, click there, click, like, I don't know, 20-minute chat, I think it's what is right there. Then let's do a little social digest shout out here. Go and you can follow me on Social Digest to get all of my info, and which is Nick and how do I say his name?
Rui.
Rui. Okay, I asked him the other day, and then I kept saying it, Rue. So Rui, go follow him too. Go follow both of them. But through Social Digest, and there's different communities I'm in. So, like, if you find me in different Slack communities, I mean, if you're in Slack communities, I'm more than likely in a good bit of them. Through process of elimination, figuring out where I can best serve. So, through RevGenius, great. Go and send me a DM through there because I'm always on Slack.
Love that. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And for those that want to follow along with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Nick Bennett. Feel free to shoot me a DM. I am about to go on parental leave for a little bit. My wife's expecting twin girls. I already have a 4-year-old, so I am going to be out fathered or out
Woo!
dad, whatever, girl dad all the way. But yeah, so I'll be out. I'll be out a little while, somewhere within the next 1 to 4 weeks. We'll see what happens. But reach out to me on LinkedIn. You'll get a much quicker reply DMing me than you will emailing me, because
Yep.
most of my emails get lost. So
Yep.
it's been a pleasure. Thank you again so much. And I did see what Social Digest. Head to socialdigest.co. It's basically, all it does is it replaces the bell notification on LinkedIn and gives you an easier way to consume your favorite creators' content every day, so you don't miss it inside your inbox. Little fun side project that I've been working on for a couple months now.
Great.
So thank you again. Thank you
Thank
so much to
you.
everyone. And we will catch you at the next Marketing Mondays. Have a great rest of your day.